Thank you. And thank you, Madam Desiline. You know, somebody said, well, why do you need to make it a right? Ever since I've been in the legislature, a bill like the bill that passed last year has been tried to pass. 2 years ago on the Senate floor, a senator stood up and said, people shouldn't be given the right to vote. It's not a right. It's not a right to vote. People in Africa have to walk miles to vote. I know back in the 60s, people had to stand in long lines. People have to work for their vote. I don't think we need to do anything to make it easier for people to vote. That's what he said on the Senate floor. He said people should have to walk miles. Then next year, they voted it into law to make sure people would have to walk miles from the back of the line to get to the front. That is why it is important that we make this a right. So his statement is fundamentally wrong. You know, we talked about she came on the first day and the lines were long. But the reality is, if she had come any other day, she would have waited in a line just as long. It was that long from the opening of the polls to the closing of the polls on that last 8th day, that Saturday when they didn't allow us to vote on that Sunday. And then if you went on Sunday to submit an absentee ballot, you stood in a line and wrapped around the elections office. So let's not be mistaken to think that there was a line here at this poll just one day, or at North Day Regional Library, or over on the beach. There were lines everywhere, all 8 days, all 8 days. So what this bill does is it's broad, and it says that it's a right. It tells us that it's a right. It also, when it gets specific, it talks about, clarifying restrictions on voting rights by a state must be narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest. In other words, you can't play politics with our laws when it comes to voting. It's our own, there you go. Voting Rights Act. It's the state of Florida's Voting Rights Act. Also, what it does is it makes sure that anybody that that goes for a driver's license automatically gets registered to vote. If you don't want to get registered to vote, you have to opt out. It also says that it gets rid of the language, because right now, if you're a convicted felon and you fill out a registration form, you're committing a crime. So now you're committing a crime. It takes that out of statute and says that filling out a registration form just keeps you from getting purged, and says that when you get through with the process, you're automatically registered to vote. And here's one of the key things that we took away last year that we hear about when people at FIU, from the colleges, from Florida Memorial, from University of Miami, when they went to the poll, if they had changed say they were from Orlando, Jacksonville, and they came to vote because they're in school and they want to vote, they're supposed to be saying, okay, you can change your address because we see that you're registered here in the state of Florida, change your address and you go vote. We changed the law to say that they have to do a provisional ballot, which are the ballots that are counted later. We changed that law, we're changing that law in this to allow them to change their address right there and vote. That was targeted. Because if you hear about how the president won, it was because colleges and young people came out to vote. They said, let's change that. And that's what they did. So we're changing that back so that we guarantee that all of our kids. These are just some of the many changes that we in my caucus in the state legislature plan to make. Adding the 14 days back, making Sundays mandatory, all of these things that were changed, we're bringing back. We're bringing back, and we plan to fight till we can't fight no more to make sure that all of our citizens have the right to vote here in Florida. I want to say thank you very much to Desiline for standing in line, and to everybody out there who had to stand in line. Her story is one of many of people in our community that had to stand in line just to exercise their right to vote. So thank you very much, and we're going to pass this in your name. Thank you.